Okay, if I can have your attention. We have a race winner for today's 53rd annual Food City 500 here at Bristol Motor Speedway. And what a great showing he did put on here today. That's Kasey Kahne. He drove the number 5 Great Clips Chevrolet for Hendrick Motorsports. He's joined by his crew chief, Kenny Francis. This is Kasey's 15th NASCAR Sprint Cup Series win, your first here at Bristol. So congratulations on winning here at Bristol Motor Speedway. And you jumped 7 spots in the point standings today. You're up to 7th. So you had quite a day, and certainly coming off last week's performance, you could have won out there at Las Vegas too. So, Kasey, congratulations on winning here today at Bristol.
Thanks a lot. It feels really good to win at this place. It's such a tough track over the years. My first time here in 2002 was just something couldn't believe, the way that you drove, as hard as you drove here, and the way things happened so quickly. And to win a Sprint Cup race here feels really good. We had a awesome Great Clip Chevy SS throughout the race. The pit calls were perfect. The pit crew did a really good job with pit stops, and just able to race hard the whole race. I mean, that's all you can do at Bristol, and it worked out for us. It feels really good to get in victory lane and get our first win, first Sprint Cup win pretty early in the season.
And Kenny Francis, talk about just how this team performed this weekend, and certainly is off to a good start here in 2013.
Yeah, we've seems like we've had good cars every week, and like I said, almost pulled one off last week at Las Vegas, and then to get the win here at Bristol is pretty cool. We had a pretty good car all weekend. We started off Friday a little bit off the pace. We missed it just a little bit, but we ended up rebounding pretty good for qualifying, and that set the tone for today. We had good track position all day, so key to that was qualifying and then having good pit stops all day, and making the right pit calls all day, which I felt like from where we were sitting, the pit calls were fairly obvious, what to do. And we maintained our track position. We didn't have to overcome that very much at all, so that was good. The car handled pretty good all weekend, and handled really good in the race. So fortunately, we came out on top when it counted.
Questions for Kenny or Kasey? If you have one, raise your hand, and we'll bring you the wireless microphone. Start right here with Jim, and then go to Ryan, and then to Bob.
Jim Utter, Charlotte Observer. Kasey, 4 races so far, 36, 19th, 2nd, and 1st. After the first 2, were you a little concerned that you were having a similar start to last season, and what has the last 2 weeks meant for you guys?
Yeah, it actually seemed really similar to to the start of last year. Those first 2 had 2 great cars at Daytona and Phoenix. Actually, Phoenix, we kind of fell off there a little bit. I fell off, but definitely had a good car at Daytona, and we lost some points those first 2. And then since Las Vegas, the test day went really well. I thought we learned some things there. We were able to put a really good weekend together, and again this weekend. So we've gained a lot of spots here in the last 2 weeks, and feel really good about where we're at, where our team's at. There was a lot that went on during the off season to get a little bit better. I felt like each one of us needed to get a touch better, and so far it's all paying off. The guys are doing an awesome job.
The last 2 weeks, do you think they are more representative of the team?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, just from each practice session, the preparation of the car prior to getting to the track, each practice session, and then qualifying. We've been qualifying up front each week, so I think it's all definitely going in the right direction. The pit stop's been really good, and the guys are just nailing it on pit road. It's fun to come to pit road and break even or gain spots.
Let's go over here to Ryan, right there, and then over this way to Bob.
Ryan McGee, ESPN. Kasey, all this talk over the last couple of years about good Bristol, bad Bristol, that sequence with you and Keselowski was crazy. And walk me through that, because it seems like lap traffic was as much a part of that as it was what you were doing and what he was doing.
Yeah, it was, man, Brad got out to the lead there, and it took my car a few laps to get going, and I reeled him in, and then just trying to make the pass. He was driving into the corner so hard, that I really couldn't do anything on the bottom or try any type of a, somewhat of a slide job or anything like that. So it was just trying to get momentum off the corner and make something happen on exit, and it took a while to do it. I bumped him a few times. He was sideways trying to hold us back, and I got the lead and then gave it right back in lap traffic a few laps later, 2 laps later. So definitely I was mad at myself at that point in time. About spun out off 2 a few laps after that, and just had to kind of calm down and get things going again. And felt like we got a really good restart, that final restart, and got to the lead. And from there it was just momentum and try to drive away. It wasn't too nerve-wracking then with Brad. It was fun and just like, how can I figure out how to get by, and he's going, how can I hold this guy off? Because the 2 of us were out front a little bit. So I was just trying to run a lot of scenarios through my head and make it work. And finally it worked, got by. But it took a while, and it was tough. I mean, we were running as hard as we could.
We're here to Bob, to your left, Kasey.
Bob Pockris, Sporting News. How angry were you after last week, and are you over it? I mean, listening to you on the radio after the race, you seemed really frustrated, the fact that you had the best car and didn't win.
Well, I was frustrated for like 5 seconds, and then I went right from the angry moment to, telling the guys how good they did, that day, and how well our weekend went and all of that. So I wasn't too angry at all, really. I was mad that we gave a race away, but there was really nothing, we could do the way it all turned out and the damage that I had to the car from the restart. And, it was nobody's fault. It was just racing, and we had a great car all day. So I wasn't mad at all. I felt good Monday and felt good all week, and I'm going to feel better tomorrow.
Let's go to David and then Nate, and then we'll go to the press box. David, raise your hand. We'll get you the mic here, right there. Excuse me.
David Newton, ESPN.com. On the restart, Kez got kind of shoved there and looked like, he said his wheels were actually off the ground. It looked like the 11 and the 22, which were having a little dispute, got in each other. Were you aware of what was going on there at all? And can you also talk, were you aware of the skirmish they had in the garage afterward? Could you hear the crowd shouting and everything?
I could hear the crowd, and I had no clue what happened on that restart other than, Brad took off a little bit, and I had a good start, and then he dropped. So I knew he spun his tires. I didn't know how it all happened. But that's all I can really see. And then from there, it was just try to stay in front of him and get up high and get my momentum going. And then I did hear the crowd, so I knew something was going on. I saw Denny the last 4 laps going slow with some type of a problem. So I thought he might be involved with what the crowd was yelling at after the race. And but that was it. I haven't seen anything else. I'll watch tonight for sure. I'll go back and check the highlights.
Nate?
Nate Ryan, USA Today Sports. I guess for both Kasey and Kenny, the 48 teams started this year as well as pretty much as they ended last year. But you guys ended last year well, but it doesn't seem like the finishes were there the first couple of weeks, 36th and the 19th. But now the last 2 weeks, you guys have been second, first. Is this sort of where you guys felt like you left off last year? Maybe the first 2 races weren't indicative of the fact that you guys were still as strong as the way you ended the chase.
Well, I mean, I feel like we were fairly strong last year, and at Daytona we had a really good car and just got wiped out. Nobody's fault, just had a wreck. Phoenix, we started off really good, had a really fast car, but we just got too loose, and we really didn't adjust hard enough, fast enough, and got back in traffic and just couldn't go anywhere. We were just too loose. So. I think if we had to do Phoenix over again, we would be a lot better off. I think we know what to do, where we missed it, and what we should do differently. The tire was a lot different. It threw me for a loop. It didn't do what I expected it to do based on what it had done the last couple of years. So we just got way too loose, and then either didn't have enough built into the car to fix it, or just didn't go big enough to try to fix it. I hadn't really decided which one, but I got a pretty good idea what we would do differently going back. And actually that was the same car we brought here, so it was a good car. We just missed it a little bit. But Vegas, we had a great run, probably the best run we've ever had at Vegas. And then we've had a lot of good runs here, and we finally finished one off, so we're proud of that. But I feel like it's a great start to the year, and hopefully we can keep building on the momentum we've established.
You feel like you could have won 3 of the first 4 races, Kasey? Daytona and last
Well,
week and this week?
yeah, I thought we were really good at Daytona. Car-wise, car had a ton of speed, 150s and then the 500. So, we could have been in that mix, but we didn't get to that point of the race. And then the last 2 weeks, we definitely could have won last week and had a great car again today.
Let's go to the press box for a couple questions, then we'll come back downstairs. Go ahead, press box questions for Kasey or Kenny.
Tony Bowler, Courier Tribune. Kasey, Charlie Daniels said earlier today his first race here at Bristol is going to let him scratch something off his bucket list. Is this the kind of win for you that's a bucket list win? It means a lot to you.
Yeah, this is a big race for me. I just feel like when you're racing in the Sprint Cup Series, Bristol's one of those tracks that as a driver you really feel like you need to win at, you want to win at. There's just so many things that are thrown at you when you come to this place, and we've been trying a long time. So to pull it off, I felt like is a big accomplishment for our guys and myself, and just feel really good about it. Like Kenny said, we've been fast here other times and just not been able to finish the deal. So it's a big confidence builder, and it feels really good to win at Bristol Motor Speedway.
Go ahead, press box.
Question for Kenny Francis, Wolfgang Munzer from Germany, Rennsport Press Agency. Mr. Kenny, we saw a couple of drivers having problems with tires. I think Tony Stewart, also Jeff Gordon. You were not concerned that maybe a similar thing could happen to Kasey's car?
Yeah, that Tony, I think somebody got into him and just cut his left rear. There wasn't much. He didn't have much control over that. But there were a few right front failures, which is not uncommon here. We've had our share over the years, and I tend to call the tire changes pretty conservatively, and I was pretty worried about the guys that took left side tires, and most of those cases they had a problem. I'm not I don't mean to second guess anyone for the way they call their race, but I consciously didn't do that because I have been through that before. I believe that my philosophy on this place is the tires will make a fuel run, and you don't really want to anything beyond a fuel run. You're taking your chances, and I think if you look at when the 24 had his problem, it was beyond the laps of a normal fuel run on the rights. So and the other problem that compounds that over the years, what I've learned is the more restarts you have on a right side tire on a track like this, a high bank track here, Dover is another one that it used to happen at. The more potential you have to have a problem, because when you restart on it, it's at low pressure, and it's not as durable at low pressure as it is after the pressure builds up. So if you have multiple starts on a right side tire, you gotta watch out. So I hate it that guys had problems, but we consciously called the race to avoid that type of problem.
Stay in the press box. Any other questions?
Mike Hembry, Speed.com. Kasey, after a lot of pretty tight racing most of the day, once you got the lead there on that restart, you were pretty much, you just sprinted away from everybody. Was your car that good late in the race, or guys just got to kind of bottle it behind you and couldn't make up the difference?
Yeah, I think our car was just that good. There was points in the race when we were able to do that earlier on also. So I felt like we just had a really good car, and I just needed to get to the front, get some clean air, and try to get away from the guys. And once I got to probably 10 laps to go, I could see where Kyle was and Brad, and kind of see the lap cars that I was catching, and just try to just kind of keep that gap for those final 10 laps. Take care of my stuff just in case we had a green-white checkered or something like that. I wanted to have the best tires that we could at that point. So it was, we had I think it was just car. It was just fast. I was able to get away and kind of control the race from there.
Others in the press box, any more? I guess not. Let's come back downstairs. Questions? So I think Bob had one, and then Al. Let's get Al first right there, Kristen, and then we'll get Bob.
Yeah, Al Pierce from Auto Week for both of you guys. Y'all have now been to 4 dramatically different types of racetracks with the new car. Did you learn anything today that will carry forward, or had you learned everything you were going to learn the first 3 weekends, and today maybe not quite so much for both of you?
I don't know. For me, I'd have to think. I'll have to reflect on it some. But really, this track is very unique. I don't know that much that you do here applies elsewhere. You know, it's a short track that's got high banks, so the aerodynamics don't really play into it because you've, you know, the majority of your load on the tires is from the banking. It's all about, you know, turn the middle and forward drive, and it's a unique track, you know, just the way it's set up. So I don't know if there's a lot that applies. I mean, you know, the setup we run here is radically different than anything we run at any other track. So I don't know. I'm not sure if there's a whole lot. There might be 1 or 2 small things that would apply. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think just the driving-wise, you know, Bristol. It's Bristol. This place is, you know, it just always kind of races similar. It always drives similar. And like Kenny was saying, there's a couple things that you work on with your car to make it right. You know, last week in Las Vegas, that was a really good chance for us to see how the Gen 6 car will race on a 1.5 miles and with the same tire that we ran last year. And I was really happy with it. Happy with being able to move around on the racetrack and as hard as you could drive. You know, Phoenix had a different tire and a different car, so that was tough to say, you know, exactly, but you race that track different as well, and then Daytona too. So it's each track so far, you've definitely had to drive a lot different, set the cars up differently, and I've been pretty pleased. You know, I think the last 2 weeks, just, you know, our cars have really driven really well, and the engines, and so that's just everybody at HMS just preparing and giving us, you know, great race cars.
Right here, Bob.
Bob Hocker, Sporting News for Kenny. The same problem of melted beads you were kind of talking about earlier as far as the tires, same problem as Phoenix. I mean, is that what will teams do to correct that? Do you add more ducts as far as cooling, or do you have to just change tires more often, or less camber, or do the drivers need to drive it differently?
I didn't see the specific. I didn't see any of the tires today. I don't think they were melted beads.
All 5 or 6 of them were
Yeah,
melted beads.
I've seen a number of right front side. I've personally done it a number of times here. Had right front sidewall failures, and they weren't necessarily what I would call a melted bead, you know, but. It's not, you know, the problem here is it's just so much load, and it's such an aggressive turn. And like I said earlier, I feel like the tire will run a full fuel run, and when you try to push it beyond that, it's questionable. And you know, there's only so much that Goodyear can do, and I think you got to consider that. And in working with Goodyear over the years, with Rick Campbell in particular, I mean, he's, you know, very open about helping you and helping you understand what's going on and with the tire and how to manage it. You know, you've got to you know, these cars weigh a lot, they go really fast, there's a lot of load, so it's all about managing the setup around the tire. And you know, at Phoenix, I think you're right. I think they were melted beads, and I think that's self-induced. I think there are things you can do to prevent that, and I believe that the teams that had that happen are actively fixing it right now, because there's a lot of teams that ran Phoenix that didn't have a single problem. And so it's definitely you know, something that you've got to consider at particular tracks. You know, Martinsville's another one that's a completely different application that you've got to be thinking about what you're doing and make sure you don't have a problem.
Any additional questions? Well, Kasey and Kenny, congratulations on a very big win today for the number 5 team, and continued best of luck this week as we head out to California.